Well, welcome. Thank y'all for coming to Bible study this week again. This past few weeks we've been going through the stories in the Gospels. We've been all over, really. We've been Jesus and the centurion, Jesus calms the storm, Jesus casts out 2 demons, heals a paralytic, Jesus talking with the Pharisees in John 8. We've just been a little all over the place, and this week we're going to be continuing that pattern by being in the Gospels, and we're going to be in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 16, starting in verse 13, all the way through verse 20. So, a little bit of context. This is right after Jesus has fed the 4,000 Gentiles and had multiplied the food. This is shortly after that. So, I'll begin. Now, Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi with his disciples. He was with his disciples. And he asked his disciples, he says, who do they, meaning the people around, who are they saying that I am? And the disciples responded. They said, some are saying that you're John the Baptist. Some say you are Elijah. Some say you're Jeremiah or one of the other prophets. Then Jesus responds back to them and he says, but who do you say that I am? So he makes a clear distinction there. He says, there are other people talking about saying who I am, but who do you, the disciples, say that I am? In which Simon Peter, one of Jesus' closest disciples, says, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. In which Jesus responds to him, he said, blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven has revealed this to you. And he continued on by saying, and I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Then he strictly charged the disciples not to tell anyone that he was the Christ. And that's the end of the story. In this story, before we get to discussing about it, I know that this story contains a lot more dialogue than the other story. The other stories were more around events, Jesus doing things, casting out demons, calming the storm, doing things, exercising his power. This, just similar to the last week in John 8, is more focused on dialogue that happens. So we'll start off by, who are the main characters in this story?
The disciples and Jesus, mainly Simon Peter.
Right. The disciples, mainly Simon Peter and Jesus. And they're having a dialogue here, and he asks them, who do you say that I am? But what is something that you learned from this story?
I think that's a question we can ask ourselves.
Yeah. We can...
Who do we say he is?
Yeah, like who do I say Jesus is?
Mm-hmm.
On a personal level.
Yeah. What's his identity to me?
Yeah. Who do you say that Jesus is? Who is he to you? What is a deep theological truth that you see? Maybe there's more than one. What is something that you see in here?
Theological truth?
A theological truth, yes.
About gates of Hades and what overpowered him building his church with Peter.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
gates of hell will not prevail.
Yeah, that's a really good one. That through Peter, he's going to establish his church on earth after he's gone, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that I see is who revealed that he was the Son of God to Peter?
Father in heaven.
The Father in heaven. Yeah, it wasn't
Father.
Peter. It wasn't Peter's own doing. It wasn't his own flesh that revealed who he was, but it was God the Father who was in heaven through the Holy Spirit. What is that? How does that make you think about your own salvation?
It's comforting. Like verse 19, I say is my favorite, where it says, I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth will have been bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will have been loosed in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't know if you would say fulfilling, but
Yeah.
makes you feel good inside.
Yeah. What is something that you really liked about this story?
Well, I like the affirmation when he says, talking about the church, like the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Like just talking, it really shows his power and like even over hell.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
I just think it shows too the personal relationship and between Jesus and Peter, and how I know they have a special bond, and we can have that same relationship with Jesus too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a promise, and he's our comforter and our provider, and he if we strive for that relationship and ask Jesus, ask too, who do we say he is? I think it kind of I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I don't know, it's what is he to us, and how can we build that relationship with him?
Mm-hmm.
And something that really strikes me is verse 18 was true when he said it. And I also say to you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overpower it. Not only was it true then, it's true now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's still going. That line is spoken is still going on to this day.
Mm-hmm.
The church is still alive and well because the gates of hell have not prevailed against it. Yeah, that's a good truth.
And
right
it
there.
basically promises us that evil is not going to prevail over
Mhm.
us.
Yes. What about something you didn't like about this story?
The ending, because I can't keep a secret.
Yeah, I guess when Jesus is constantly saying like, okay, don't tell anyone, or don't, like he's telling them not to tell anybody about, the things that he's done or who he is. I guess it's just kind of hard to understand why he wouldn't want people to know.
Yeah.
But I feel like they were very protective of him, though, too.
Yeah. They're traveling with him all the
Yeah.
time. I'm sure they were. But
But, the more you see and the things you see him do, the more you're going to be excited and want to tell.
But do you think he was doing the same thing back then that happens now when you say, hey, I got to tell you something, but don't tell nobody, and the first thing they're going to do is run and tell somebody?
he may
Could
have.
be,
He may
yeah.
have.
I'm just
He
wondering.
could have been. But, well, thank y'all for listening to my story this week. I've really enjoyed doing these stories with y'all, so thank you.